Ooh, I need something on these lips. What's up? Today we are gonna chill together. I am feeling kind of low energy, so I need to like beep, 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 get that energy up. I just wanted to do this month's coffee chat and just chat with you guys about what is on my mind and get ready together. And then I've got a lot of questions from you guys and topics to cover, so that's what we're gonna do. That was the Tatcha Kissu lip mask, which feels amazing. But it is a sunny day, and it's one of those weather days that's like what I wish summer were like every day, where like the high is like 75, it's sunny, it's not humid. Like that is when I die and hopefully get to heaven, that's what the weather's gonna be like. Okay. So I'm putting on the Milani SPF BFF because it is sunny. I'd be putting it on even if it wasn't, but especially because it is. And yeah, I'm gonna start with some of your guys' questions first because a lot of them tie into things that are on my mind that I wanted to talk about anyway. So I asked on my Instagram, which is @Braun, shameless plug. Go say hi over there. Go check me out. It's so exciting. But yeah, so I took some screenshots of some ones. Let's just start real nice and deep. Are there any fears you have of your children growing up in today's world? Of course. I have fears of myself being here in today's world. You know what I mean? And it's wild because as I read that, I thought, well, what do you mean? And then I realized that it's wild that when you think about today's world, that there is so much that is just awful that you can't even pinpoint one thing that someone might be talking about. You know what I mean? And the first thing that came to my mind when I read that was like social media and mental health and how so many kids growing up today, especially in the preteen and teenage years, their brains aren't fully developed and they're consuming so much social media just like we do, but their brains aren't as developed as ours. And social media, you know, no matter what age you are, unless you're like just now 18 and watching this, which I don't know. But most of us, I think, what is it, 25 that your brain is like done developing, something like that, somewhere around that age. And so as we've gotten to the social media we have today, like, I mean, think about how different social media was even just 5 years ago. It is now like everyone is posting everything they do and they're, you know, posting what looks like a perfect life, whether they're an influencer or not. Like I have people that I know from like schooling and stuff that what they post, I'm like, that cannot be their normal life. Like I know it's not. We all know that it's not, but it's still, when you're bombarded with that and when you're really young and your brain is still developing, it's hard for you to separate what's real and what's not. And so one thing I really want to try to instill in the girls is just having some limits. You know, I don't want them on their phone all the time. But once they get older, I mean, you have some control, but they're going to have a phone when they're a teenager. They're going to, you know, be on Instagram or, well, whatever it is at the moment. My point is, I want to instill in them that if they are, you know, mindlessly scrolling and they are starting to feel a certain way, like if they're starting to feel like anxious or I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Like, you know, that pang, jealousy is not the right word, but when you're starting to feel bad about yourself because of what you're seeing on Instagram, that's when I want them to go on an unfollowing spree and unfollow people that are making them feel that way, even if that person's a good person, you know. But, you know, there are just certain people that for whatever reason bother you in one way or another, and just unfollow them. If it's not serving you, you don't need it in your life. And that gets harder too because so many of the social media sites are making it so that it doesn't really matter who you follow because they're just going to be pushing, you know, videos and pictures and whatever of people you don't even follow just based on what you do follow. And so it's harder to control that, but just really being aware of your mental state as you're looking through whatever social media. So that's something I want to teach my girls because it's taken me a while to learn that and figure that out. And ever since I've kind of gone through, let's say, my Instagram following and unfollowed anyone that gave me that pang, that feeling where I felt worse about myself or whatever it might have been, just unfollowing them was very powerful. So, and suddenly my feed, for the most part, is stuff I actually, you know, that makes me feel good or it inspires me or whatever it is, or it's someone I like care about. That looks pretty nice, actually. This is the number 7 Restore and Renew foundation. You can get it at Target and Walgreens, and I feel like it looks like healthy. It's not too much coverage, but it's just enough, and I put on the 2 layers. Looks pretty good. I have the shade Calico if you're curious. I know I didn't fully answer that question about fears of children, but that's just one that's been on my mind. I feel like I could talk about that forever. I mean, you know, what got you into makeup in the first place? Great question. So I don't really know for sure. And obviously with anything that you like in life, it's usually multiple things. What I do know is that I was in, you know, I started doing like little plays in middle school. I was pretty shy, but I don't know what it was. Like I just wanted something to do. I didn't want to do sports. And I just remember having this moment in like 6th grade where I was like, guess I could do the play. It's totally out of character for me, especially knowing what I was like back then and how painfully shy I was. And so I really don't know what got into me. I just don't know. But thankfully, something got into me, but that because I started doing theater, we'd be wearing makeup. And of course, in middle school, our stage makeup, we were putting on bright blue eyeshadow and it just looked terrible because we didn't know what we were doing. Bright blue eyeshadow can look really pretty, but not if you don't know what you're doing. And I still don't know what I'm doing with bright blue eyeshadow. Anyway, so that's kind of what got the ball rolling. But then in high school, you know, I still didn't know what I was doing. But once I got into college and I went originally for musical theater, we took a makeup class. And that's what got me more into like, oh, like learning how to actually apply stuff. Now, that class was a lot less like everyday stuff and more like making yourself look like a monkey or making yourself look super old or super young. So I still learned valuable things, but it wasn't like learning how to do your makeup for everyday life, you know? And we were using like stage makeup. Fast forward, and I was like living with a good friend once I'd moved back to Indy. And was I starting to go to school for teaching at that point? I think so. I wanted to buy this nice foundation. I've told this story before, but it was probably a few years ago that I told it. This nice foundation from Lancome, and I wanted to see, because I couldn't really afford it, but I wanted to like see if anyone had reviews online. So when I searched it, a YouTube video came up reviewing it. And I was like, what? So I watched it, and then I discovered a whole world of all this. So that's really how it all started. Like, as you can probably tell, I'm not like a trained makeup artist or anything like that. It's just kind of a enjoyment of makeup. And that's why I talk a lot about doing more, and I have been doing a lot less makeup videos and a lot more just everything else, because makeup I love and I still enjoy it and I still enjoy trying it. And so it'll always be a fixture here, but it being the only thing I do is really no longer. I mean, I've been doing vlogs and stuff on my channel for a while now, so that's no surprise to probably most of you. And anyway, so yeah, that's why, because it's not like I'm some trained makeup artist, that's why I think I'm starting to veer away, because I enjoy it, but it's not my whole world, my whole life. You know what I mean? Not that it's a makeup artist's whole life either, but I hope I'm making myself clear. I don't know that I am. I'm feeling just achy today. You know, when you just wake up and you're like, you didn't really sleep well, and you'll see your neck's sore, and I think that's where that low energy. Anyway, and Gigi is at an age right now where she is coming into our bed all of the time, and we've told her a million times, like, honey, and she's like, well, I had a bed dream. I'm like, okay. And you feel bad because she's just 4. Like, she just turned 4, but I'm like, honey, this cannot be a habit, because it was never anything she did. Like, she never slept with us. She was not that kind of kid. And it's just all of a sudden, and I wonder, I love that I'm winking at you. I wonder if it's because there's a baby around and she kind of wants to be babied. So we're trying to be gentle with her, but also I'm like, get in your own bed, kid. You're messing with our sleep. Have I seriously not even opened this? Oh my gosh, Jessica, come on. This e.l.f. What am I doing here? There we go. Bite Size Eyeshadow Quad, specifically in I Love You a Latte. I bought it a while ago. I've been loving this kind of shade and this kind of shade just all over the lid lately. So I'm gonna try this one and see if it looks like the Chantecaille one I've been loving. Kind of a perfect low-key heading into fall look. It's super easy. Anyway, what else? Books or planner methods that have been working for me. So, okay, I showed you guys a few months ago the little like daily checklist type planner thing I got at Target. Wasn't super expensive. It was working pretty well, but I found myself missing being able to go back and see what was on my list from like 2 weeks ago, or like I liked having a monthly calendar to be able to write on, and that doesn't have it. Because basically you'd rip it off and just throw it away. Like, anyway. So I broke down and bought I haven't gotten it yet. It should be here in the next few days. I'm trying another new planner company because I just love trying new planners called, is it Ivory Paper Company? It's a very popular like paper company, but they do a daily planner, which is what I like a daily list. So we're gonna try that out this time and see. You guys know my favorite is Golden Coil, but it gets expensive because of the pages I always put in it. It's super customizable, which is great, but it adds up when you have to buy multiple planners a year because I add so many other pages to it. Anyway, so hopefully this one will last me longer. I think it's a full year. We're gonna find out. Maybe it's not a full year, but I don't know. But they had a lot of like really pretty cover options, which I loved. So that was fun to like sort through and pick one that I liked. Yeah, that, again, these e.l.f. bite-sized quads, I don't think anyone's sleeping on anymore. They've been out. Everyone loves them because they're so good. That was nice. That looks awfully similar to my Chantecaille single shadow that I use all the time in the shade Sylvie. And it's way, 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 way cheaper. I feel like you're showing Gigi a bit more on social media. Have you changed her mind about showing her? Changed our mind. We haven't changed our mind, but what we realized is, you know, a lot of you guys have watched her grow up, and I felt really bad just like, and I know it's my kid and my decision, I know that, but I felt really bad just like pulling her out, and then so many people being like, how is she doing? And so we've shown her little bits here and there. We're very choosy about when we show her and how much we show her and how she's shown in the videos. So that is something that we are hyper aware of. I guess our thing was we just didn't want our channels, either of our channels, to be a channel where it's centered around the kids, because that was never our intention, and it's not our intention. And that's why we really pulled back. And now we're just throwing little dabbles in. And we really asked ourselves, like, would this be something that would be embarrassing for them to have on video in public when they're older? And so if the answer is yes, then we edit it out, or we just take it out. So that's kind of been our rule of thumb. I think it's just going to be one of those things that morphs and changes as we figure out what our, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things as the internet changes more and more and stuff. So we'll see. But for now, we just show little bits here and there of both girls, and we're really picky. That's really all. I'm going to use this NYX liner, what is it called? Epic Wear liner stick. It's in like the brown, deepest brown. How to balance time for you, for example, working out with kids at home. Right. So our schedule right now, if you were curious, and again, it's just one season of life we're in, and it's going to morph and change so much as the months and years go on. For right now, Gigi is in preschool a few days a week, and Felicity's with us. Sometimes she'll be with grandparents, Felicity that is. Sometimes we just keep her with me because I am combo feeding. I am nursing her throughout the day. And so it's nice to have her here. Obviously I can pump, like today I'm actually going to be pumping a decent amount, but anyway, that's a story for another day. Anyway, but eventually we will have more full-time help with Felicity. So we will have more time. I realized that like early morning working out could be great if you are someone that can do that. If it's something gentle like yoga, did I just say like twice? If it's gentle like yoga, I could do that in the morning, and I have. But if it's something more strenuous like running first thing in the morning for me, absolutely not. My body is not awake no matter how much I like try to stretch and stuff. Like I just can't put that much energy forth at like 6 in the morning before they wake up. You know what I mean? I'm always amazed when I'm driving in the morning, like maybe taking her to school, and I'm like, look at these people out running. Good for them. My body like just doesn't do well with that. Maybe someday it will, but I doubt it. So with that in mind, I've realized about myself, I definitely prefer working out in the afternoon or evening. So a lot of times right when we get home, I'll say, Tyler, can I have 30 minutes to go work out? You watch the girls, and then we swap. So if you have someone around that you could swap with, A, it's nice to kind of keep each other accountable, but B, that gives you that built-in time for both of you guys. And I've just also connected how important working out is, not necessarily for weight loss, but just for my mental health, to have a moment away where I'm doing something great for myself. It makes me feel good. So yeah, I mean, that's been kind of big for me this time around. And I think that's a big part of why this has been an easier postpartum period. Another question I got was, what's something no one tells you about postpartum? I think one thing, I mean, there's a lot of obvious stuff, and I've talked a lot about it, so I'm not going to talk about it all here, but one thing that popped into my mind was that each postpartum period can be wildly different. I don't think people talk about that a lot. Like, I've shared a lot about how you know, going through postpartum depression the first time around, and the second time it was so different, and I just feel so much better and more confident, and I didn't have any of that mental anguish. And I don't think people talk about that enough, because I feel like I kind of heard it like, but we were really unsure about trying for a second kid for a while, because I was like, I don't know if I can handle that again, like that mental part of it. But then the second one was totally different. So then I was like, oh my gosh, is that what it could feel like? So some people that had their first kid that didn't have postpartum mental issues, is that what it felt like for them? Like, it was so fun. No wonder people have more than one kid. Like, and so I've just had this whole mental dance has been going on for me, because I'm like, oh, I thought it was super rough for everyone. It's not. I mean, there's the obvious parts that are rough, like lack of sleep, et cetera, et cetera. But man, I just did not know that it could be so different, both good and bad. And I think that's important to know, that you almost can't, you just don't know what to expect. And even though the postpartum period, no matter what, is hard, it can be way harder or way easier, like just depending on a million factors. But behind the scenes YouTube, how your life has changed financially as your channel has grown. If you had asked me 9 years ago, when I started my channel in 2013, that I would be where I am today, I would not have believed you. I just wouldn't have believed you, because I started this as a hobby, and it was something that as I continued, once I started it when I was in school for teaching, then I eventually taught for 4 years in the elementary schools. And I just don't think I ever, like, once I started making some money from it, you know, it was like $30 a month. And then it slowly grew to $100 a month. And then it slowly grew to $300 a month. And it's grown, obviously, over the years. And I kept telling myself, once I am making as much as I was teaching on YouTube, I will quit. The nice thing was it coincided with when I had Genevieve. Like, it was kind of a perfect thing. It was the end of the school year. I was like, I think I'm just gonna do YouTube full time at this point. So it really, the timing worked out perfectly. But it's just wild that, you know, the fact that I can make money doing this, which is so enjoyable to me, is wild. And that is not lost on me. Like, even when I'm feeling, and I'll share about this in videos all the time, like even when I'm feeling maybe a little bit uninspired, or when I'm feeling a little bit, I almost said strung out. That's not the term. What am I thinking of? Worn out, but there's a better term for it. But anyway, burnt out. That's it. Not strung out, Jessica. Even when I'm feeling burnt out, it's not lost on me how unbelievably lucky I am to be able to do this. And I just can't believe that enough of you guys have stuck around and wanted to watch my videos. That's wild to me. Because, you know, when my head hits the pillow at night, I'm just thinking like, just a normal person, just trying to raise some kids and make some money and enjoy my life with my husband and my kids and with my family and friends. And I can't believe this is my job. I do think that sometimes, just a fun behind the scenes thing, I do think that sometimes people, when they find out what I do, assume I'm kind of vapid, stupid. And I'm not stupid. But I really do think sometimes, like in my own life, when I'm like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, they're like, oh, and they're like, I guess you're stupid. Not that I know so many YouTubers that are watching this are like, what the heck? But it's kind of like, I don't know how to put it into words. I'm sure I just offended a whole bunch of people, but I'm a YouTuber too. I really think there's kind of a stigma that like, oh, you're an influencer, so you weren't smart enough to have like another job. I'm like, no, I had another job. Obviously, you know, it is what it is, and not everyone thinks that, but I do think that it's in people's minds that when I tell them that, they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, no, I swear I know things. I don't know that I could name a single YouTuber that I genuinely think is like stupid at all. I do think it's interesting that a lot of people that are on YouTube, and it kind of makes sense, are people that used to be in theater or like that realm of things. And that makes sense to me, myself included, because it's very much like a showy's not the right word, but you know, you're talking and you're having to be expressive in some capacity, unless you're not, I guess. But I'm just going around in circles, guys. My point is, I don't even remember the question. My point is, I'm not vapid. I have many layers like an onion. This is an awesome question. Do you miss anything about the way YouTube used to be, or do you like how it's changed? I mean, there's obvious changes that all the freaking social media, we all know. Everyone's doing their own version of like TikTok videos. Everyone's doing, I'll literally make a TikTok or an Instagram reel and just post it to all of them because I'm like, it's just comical. They're all just, eventually it's just going to be one social media app under 6 different names because that's basically what it's becoming. But with YouTube, that aside, all of that kind of stuff aside, because I do enjoy reels and stuff like that to a certain degree too. But just thinking about like the YouTube culture. So I'm gonna hone in on that while I finish my makeup here. In my little corner of YouTube, I feel like generally people are super nice. If I were to rewind 6 years ago, people were a lot meaner in the comments. They really were, and not just to me, but I think just in general. And I think we've gotten to a point now, probably not necessarily a good thing, but like where there's, you know, people just go to their own echo chamber now to complain about whatever it is they want to complain about. And that's great because now, you know, we don't have to read it. But then it's like, well, but it's also not good because people just, and I'm not even just talking about YouTube, I'm talking about like political things. Like people go into their little box, their echo chamber, and they spout out whatever they want. And then everyone else is spouting the same thing back at them. And it just feeds that monster on all sides. And that can be a very bad, scary thing, truly. But within the YouTube realm, it's kind of nice because then they go in their neighborhood and complain about whatever they want to say about me. And I can tell you 100% of it is not true. I feel like people just kind of get YouTube now. And so where I used to have to preface, like if I were doing a declutter, I used to have to say like, I know it's a lot of makeup, but it's my job and blah, blah, blah. Now I don't have to because if you're watching a makeup declutter, you already get that realm. You already get it. And so that part of things that have changed is kind of nice. I feel like you kind of find your neighborhood and you just understand that culture of that neighborhood, you know? So that's been kind of nice and almost freeing in a way where I don't feel like I have to over explain. And I'll get a random comment here or there about like, wait, or like mad about something, but generally it's nowhere near what it used to be. And so I think that's pretty cool. Nope, don't use that again, Jessica. That is old. I need to get rid of that. That is really dark. Ooh, that's so much darker than I thought. This is the M Cosmetics bronzer stick in summer. I thought I had another shade that was lighter, but maybe I don't. I mean, you can make it work, but... Okay, drawing boundaries with anyone and everyone. I'm horrible at it and want to feel in control. One thing I realized, and stop me if I've... You can't. Stop me if I've already talked about this recently, but one thing I've realized about myself that I'm trying to be better about is that I'm not responsible for other people's happiness. Now, that's not completely true, like obviously within my family and friends, but one problem I would always have, like, let me give a very specific example. If we were having people over for dinner, for a cookout or whatever, I would need everything to be so absolutely perfect. And if there was like a lull in the conversation, I would feel like I need to fill it because I need to make sure everyone's happy and that everyone's having fun and that no one's bored and no one feels awkward and no one's embarrassed. And it's too much. I'm asking too much of myself to be responsible for everyone's happiness and everyone's enjoyment at said gathering. And I know that's ultra specific, but that is one thing I've thought about a lot, and letting that go and realizing that I'm in control of what I'm in control of. Like if I'm hosting a party, like obviously I'm going to help with, I'm going to do the food and the drinks and etc. But beyond that, I don't have to feel like I have to make sure everyone is entertained at all times. They're all their own human being that also would like to be having fun, and they're in charge of enjoying it or not. And so just letting that go is something I'm working on, and it has been so kind of freeing, realizing that that was a problem I had that I really needed to get control of because it would stress me out. I would be the biggest ball of stress even before the smallest little gathering. So that has been really helpful, kind of noticing that about myself. So if that's you, let me know if you can think of a better example other than just like family gatherings where you feel like you, and I know that doesn't fully cover the topic that she asked about, but that's one that's just been on my mind a lot. And I think it's a control thing. I think it connects back to, I always want to feel in control and I don't want people to feel awkward. Like, whew, it's exhausting. I get a lot of questions about this initial necklace. This was a push present from Tyler. And this one here, and it's got G for Genevieve, F for Felicity, and then a little tiny diamond there. So it was more expensive. It was like a really special gift. It's one of the very few real pieces of jewelry I own, very few. And so I'll link it, but just know that it's super pricey, but I love it. I was inspired. Madison Miller had one, and I literally DM'd her and was like, where's that from? I'm going to ask for that. And so here we are. Also, we're going to try a new product here. I was on the wait list for this forever. I think Neiman Marcus. I finally got it from there. I've never ordered from Neiman Marcus in my life, I don't think. But it's the Dior blush it's the Backstage Rosy Glow blush in pink. This is like comically sold out everywhere always because it's just like supposedly the most beautiful pop of pink. So we're gonna try it. And that supposedly it looks good on like every skin tone. It is pretty. I'll have to keep messing with it. I mean, I really like the way it looks, but I don't know that it's like worth the ridiculous amount of hype that it's gotten, because it's like so hyped. Anyway, but it does look nice. I like the pink. Like I wish I'd had it at the beginning of summer or spring, not at the beginning of fall, but that's okay. Do you believe switching from teaching to doing YouTube is better for your mental health? Well, yeah, now I can't imagine going back to the classroom with everything going on. I'm like, I got out of there at the right time. And again, when I say everything going on, it's wild that there are like 6 different things going on in the world of schools that are so, like, I feel for my teacher friends. So yeah, I'm very glad to not be teaching right now. And it would take a lot now with everything. It would take a lot to get me to go back. It really would. I think I would just find a different job. And it's crazy because like a year ago, if you'd asked me, I think I've even said somewhat recently, like, yeah, I think I'd go back eventually. I don't know. Things would have to change a lot because it's just, and you can read into it whatever you want because it's probably not what you think I'm upset about. But anyway, teachers are asked to do so much and to be so perfect. And when they're asked to do certain things, somehow teachers get blamed and teachers are the evil ones. And I'm like, what? Like, so don't get me started, but no, I have no plans to go back to teaching. I'm definitely mentally happier not teaching, but it was hard that first year because it coincided with also having Genevieve, my first baby. That first year working from home was hard because I'd never done it. And so that took a while to get used to too, but now I'm very happy. Do you see yourself staying in your current town for the rest of your life? In the general area, yeah. Because all of our family and friends are within, 30 or 45 minutes of us. So the idea we used to when we were, younger, especially like right before getting married, we're like, maybe we'll move down near Disney or maybe we'll live abroad or maybe, no, I love where we are. I genuinely love it. I cannot imagine living far away from my family and my friends and not having that huge support system that helps us not just with the kids, but with the dog, but also just getting to see them all the time and them knowing our kids and seeing them grow up and them knowing their family so well. Like I grew up in a family where I was one of 6 and I guess I should keep getting ready, huh? I was one of 6 and not only that, we had no family that lived here, like none. Half of my family lived in Mississippi, my mom's side, and half my family lived in Ohio, my dad's side. And so we would see them maybe once a year. I hardly knew them. I was always so nervous. And I am so glad that my kids are growing up knowing their grandparents and knowing their cousins so well. They see them, generally monthly, and the grandparents they see even more often. So I'm so thankful for that, and I would never want to mess with that, ever. And I just am happy where we are. I mean, this is home to me. This is home. I'm very much someone that relishes in the idea of home. And so that's just a big part of who I am. So yeah, I know some people don't have those kinds of ties to home, and it just is what it is, but I do. Okay, lots of questions about books. I might do a separate video or TikTok/Instagram reel about the books I've read this year and just talk about my favorites, maybe rank them, because I've gotten a lot of questions. I know that it'll probably be a video that doesn't do super well on my channel, but for those that have been asking, it would be fun. And I'm trying to do more videos that are just genuinely fun to me. So yeah, and I also got another question. I lost it, but here it is. I'm turning 30 soon. What is something I should do before turning 30? Start reading. If you don't read books, read books. It has opened my eyes and given me so much more empathy for so many different types of ways of being in this world. Like, I can't explain it. And it took me into my late 20s to really get into reading. And the only time I read is at night before bed. That's it. Some nights I just read 1 or 2 pages and I fall asleep. It is what it is. Other nights I'm up and I'm reading on my Kindle, invest in a Kindle and start reading. Set your goal to read 2 books a year, if that's all you can do. And then each year, maybe increase it a little bit. I use Goodreads. I don't share it for a reason. It's like one of the few private things I have in my life on my phone, you know? So I like having that private. I know a lot of you guys ask, but get a Goodreads account or whatever so you can keep track of what you're reading. You can see what your friends are reading. Like, that's why I like it, and it really inspires me to read more. Plus, I get ideas for what book I want to read next. But that's what I would say. If you're about to turn 30 and you don't read, start reading. I think it will change your life, and it'll be something you weirdly start to look forward to in the evening. Trust me. How many unread DMs do you currently have? Guys, so the way that Instagram splits it into, and I don't know if everyone sees it this way, maybe it's just because of the way my Instagram is set up. My DMs are, I couldn't even tell you how many. I got it in primary, general, and requests, and I have thousands and thousands and thousands. This is not a brag. This sucks. In the requests, and it takes me forever to go through every single one. It won't let me select all of them. I have to go one by one and select them and approve them for them to even be moved into my inbox. Then they're all randomly split into general and primary, and it's random because people in my primary are not like my close friends. That's how I would love to have it, but it's not. And it would take me so long to undo all of that and that I just get lost, and I end up not seeing literally most DMs, and it stinks. It stinks so bad. I'm like, should I just like hire someone to spend an entire day working on this? Because it's been years like this. So at this point, it is just so I do see some DMs. So don't feel like if you DM me, there's no chance. But it is, y'all, it would just take me so long, and it makes me so sad. Anyway, okay, geez, Jessica, calm down. All right, so I'm gonna move into a few questions I got about like specific baby stuff and then specific Disney stuff. So if you're not into that, I'll see you in the next one. What's up? Bye. Came out weird. So let's do some baby questions first, and then I guess I did talk about, okay, combo feeding. I want to relate to someone. So combo feeding, if you don't know, is where you're nursing, you're also feeding the baby formula, and maybe you're pumping as well. So it's just kind of a combo of all of it. That is the best decision we made. We kind of were forced into doing it because she just wasn't gaining. So the formula had to happen. It just had to. I was doing everything I could. We were doing everything right. It just had to happen. And that was okay. Like, Genevieve was fully formula fed the entire time, and she is an awesome little 4-year-old girl, and you'd never be able to tell that she was formula fed. So if you're like in that mindset where you're like, I feel like I'm such a failure, as a teacher, 10-year-olds, I could never have told you which ones were breastfed, which ones were combo fed, which ones were formula fed. There's no way of knowing. And yes, there may be some science that, you know, breastfed babies do better, and there's some great things about breast milk, there's some great things about formula, and if you're doing both, awesome, because that means they're getting the best of both worlds. So please don't feel like you're a failure if you can't nurse, can only nurse a little bit, your supply is low. There were wet nurses thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, for a reason, okay? You're not alone in your struggle. And what's interesting is and I think I might have talked about this in another video, when the formula shortage happened, I feel like a lot of people came out of the woodwork, and I realized how many people in my own life that were formula feeding, because they were asking like, hey, does anyone have this version of whatever? And so I know that you see that a lot of people breastfeed, but a lot of people formula feed, and a lot of people combo feed, and maybe they don't put it out there as much, but they're there. Just trust. So you are not alone. That was my point there. You're not alone. And I'm telling you, in a few months, when they're eating, you know, more baby food, and then later when they're not even drinking milk or formula or anything at all, you won't even think about it. It's not even going to be a thing on your mind. So just trust me. Just trust me. How do you deal with mom guilt over everything? You don't. You just have to accept that you are always going to be feeling guilty about everything. We were listening to, it's actually an older Jim Gaffigan book we're listening to in the car, like an audiobook together, Tyler and I, and it's called Dad is Fat, and it's all about his just, you know, raising kids and just all of that. And so it's interesting, especially if you're a parent, you know, it's funny. And at one point he talks about the guilt, and he's like, you feel guilty if you breastfeed, you feel guilty if you formula feed, you feel guilty if you put them in school, you feel guilty if you watch them, and he just goes on, and it's so true. You feel guilty about everything. You feel guilty like if you're actually playing with the kids because you should be doing something else. You feel guilty if you're doing the dishes and they're just, you know, on, if they're older, like a tablet or something. Like, you will always feel guilty about everything. Everything. And it's not just mom guilt. It's dad guilt too. Tyler's like, I totally feel it. It's just parent guilt. And you just have to accept that it's just a part of your life. And it does get easier, and especially, you know, as time goes on, like anything, you get used to it. It does get easier, but just know that it's just kind of there to stay. And we all feel it. We all feel it, and it's normal. And honestly, if you're feeling that guilt, that means you're a good parent, because that means you're thinking about this stuff. You're not going to be able to play, and we are not built to play with our kids 100% of our day. We're not. We're still a human being that needs to, you know, every once in a while, especially early on, I would feel guilty working out. And I'm like, well, I just finished my work day and I haven't really seen Gigi yet today. She just got back from school, and, you know, I should be hanging out with her and not working out. But then I realized I need to meet my own needs first. When I work out, I'm a better mom, period. I am more patient. I feel better about myself. I have more confidence. And that is healthy for me, which means it's healthy for my relationship with her. And so you're always going to feel guilty about everything. You just got to let it be. It is what it is. It just is what it is. Oh, we are definitely doing this color with this shirt. Got this at TJ Maxx. I vlogged my whole like running errands day. Y'all, I'm calling it a Jessie day. I had a Jessie day and it was amazing. So if that video is up, I will link it. It should be, if you haven't watched it, oh, you yourself need to have a Jessie day. And there are certain rules, so definitely go check that out. Anyway, yeah, so that guilt is real. All right, let's talk about some Disney stuff. Have you guys considered joining DVC, which is Disney Vacation Club? It's basically, if you don't know what it is, it's like a timeshare at Disney. So you would own a piece of Disney property, and what that means is like a certain room type at a certain resort. The yearly fee is so high. Well, the entrance fee is high, like to own some, to buy in, basically. The yearly fee is high. Like, honestly, we get deals, you know, when you're an annual pass, you can get deals. And so I just don't think it's something that we're really that interested in. It's easier for us to just, like, if we find a really great deal and just book it the way we want to, when we want, and not feeling like I don't know. We obviously go to Disney a lot. And if you didn't know, I know most of you do. My husband owns a Disney travel agency. It's a big part of our lives. So we go a lot, and we take our kids, of course. And it's just one of those things that will always be a part of our life, but we just don't have that desire, because it might save us some money in the long run, but not enough that for us it's worth the headache of it. It's really just not for us. But I know for some people it is absolutely worth it, and it works really well, and that's awesome. But I just don't think it's in the cards for us. I love this lipstick. This is the Milani lipstick in Petal. I just love it. It's such a happy color to me. Like, it's still muted, but it's just such a happy, sorry, I have a pumping undergarment on because I'm trying to build my supply a little bit. And so they said if you pump every 2 hours, it could really help. So I'm trying that for the next like 48 hours is what it said. We'll see. But, so I'm literally just wearing a pumping bra because I'm about to pump right after this video. Anyway, I'll let you know if it works. I've tried everything. Lots of questions about what our next trip is besides like Disney type trips. And we are going very soon to California to visit my brother and sister-in-law and their little baby. And I'm so excited because they recently moved back out to California. So excited to go there. We're definitely going to pop into Disneyland for a few days while we're out there, because we go to Disney World a lot, but we don't always get the opportunity to go all the way to California because we live in Indiana in the Midwest. So that I am very excited to see them, very excited to see their new place and be in California. And it's just going to be so fun. So that's coming soon. Not looking forward to the flight with our little baby. We've done a flight to Disney and that was great. 2 hours. She was great, but she'll be just a little bit older. And so she's a little bit louder and a little bit harder to please. And so we'll see how this goes, because it's obviously a longer flight, but it will go fine. I actually have planned a video about tips for traveling with kids, both in the plane and road trip. So that will be coming up soon for those that are interested, because I've got a lot up there from traveling over the years that I'm definitely excited to share. So anyway, all right, I think we're gonna cut it there because I could just chat and chat and chat and chat, but I'll hang up the phone now. But I love you guys. If you enjoy coffee chats, I will link my playlist. I do these monthly for the most part, and we always just chat. I mean, they're pretty much always just like this. So I hope that you enjoyed. I hope you subscribe if you haven't already, and come say hey to me over my Instagram and TikTok. It is at It's Jessica Braun. I am more likely, speaking of the DM thing, I'm more likely to see a comment on like a post than I am a DM. So if you're like genuinely trying to get something to me, that you're probably more likely to get through in a comment because I try to read those through. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.